call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Yanish.
Here.
Councilmember Reese.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Amon.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Dockin.
Here.
Fagerly.
Here.
DeBleek. 8 present, 1 absent.
Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think this might be a good point to say this. You may know that Councilman DeBleek is not here, and he is out with some health issues, and we are praying for a speedy recovery, and so that he will be back with us 100% here real shortly. With that, we'll move to the additions or deletions to the agenda. Do I have any?
Oh, no.
Councilman?
No, I don't have any.
I'd like to add one. I'm sorry, Ron?
Yes, I'd like to add something to miscellaneous at the end, just a note of the border review coming up in 2 weeks from today.
Thank you, Ron. I'll put that down. And I'd also like to add, I have a few announcements to make under miscellaneous as well.
Mr. Mayor, were you going to do a reappointment under the consent agenda?
Under the consent agenda, yes, I will. The reappointment of Patty Johnson to the Joint Powers Board to her second term, also listed in the consent agenda. Do we have any motions to?
I'll make that motion.
The motion has been made to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second has been made. All those in favor? A motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Who made the motion?
Motion carries. With that, we move to a scheduled hearing, and at this point, I'd like to open the hearing and call Chief Weifels to explain to us what's going on here with the ordinance repealing.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me, Mayor Yanish, members of the council. Essentially, what I'm asking for is a repeal of the city ordinance that relates to the administrative citations. They were initially enacted, I believe, in 2005. In 2009, the legislature changed what the cities could control by that ordinance to where it effectively has stopped us from using it at all. We haven't issued a single ticket on that ordinance since 2009. And seeing that we have no intent to further use it, I believe it would be an ordinance that would just sit on the books with no purpose, so I asked for its repeal. And this has been discussed with the City Attorney, Rich Running.
What would the council like to do? I'm sorry, is there any input from the public? Hearing none, I will close the hearing. Any discussion amongst the council?
I would make the motion to adopt the ordinance and publish it.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the ordinance to repeal the Willmar Municipal Code sections 1076 through 1082 and repeal them in their entirety. That is just a regular voice.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilmember Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Amon.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion carries. The next public hearing would be the Willmar Fabrication LLC Job Z zone modification. And Rhonda Ray,
No,
you're
Mr.
here to
Mayor.
speak.
Open the
No.
hearing, and then Bruce is going to explain this one.
Sorry?
We need to open the hearing, and then Bruce will explain.
Oh, I'm sorry. We will open the hearing, and then Bruce, if you want to explain to us what's going on.
Mayor Yanish, members of the council, the city has received a request from Willmar Fabrication for Job Z benefits, and that's something that will be taken up and considered as part of the Community Development Committee minutes of last Thursday's meeting. But to accommodate that request for Job Z benefits, it's necessary that the city amend the physical dimensions of the subzone to include the new plant site. Willmar Fabrication is planning to take a portion of their operation and move it to the Burnix building on 19th Avenue and the corner of 19th and 22nd Street Southwest. And this property is not currently in the city's Job Z subzone. So what we've proposed is to transfer acres from the existing subzone in the industrial park. We're actually taking land out of right-of-way that's been platted since the original subzone was proposed. And then we would transfer that like amount of acreage to the Burnix site to qualify the property. The county board and the school district have already approved resolutions of support for their subzone amendment, and it's a recommendation of staff that the council adopt the resolution that amends the Willmar Job Z subzone.
Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and open for discussion with the council.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
He got it.
All right, okay. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the resolution to accommodate the Willmar Fabrication request for Job Z benefits. Roll call.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Amman.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Bagley.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
The motion carries. This time we will have the Willmar City Council open forum if those that wish to speak. Has anybody signed up to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody care to speak as long as we're... We will close the open forum. Departmental report from Planning and Development Services Department. Bruce?
Mayor Yanish, members of the council, and interested citizens. Tonight I'll present what I hope is a fairly brief annual report for the Department of Planning and Development Services. The report will cover the 4 major topic areas that the department is responsible for. Those areas are economic and community development, planning and zoning, building inspection, and rental housing inspection. And I would just like to, for the public's information, remind them that the full departmental report can be found on the city's website at the address posted on the screen. The department continues to be staffed by 5 individuals. Due to some additional training this past year, we were able to state that all departmental staff are fully certified in their particular areas. And that also includes our departmental clerical person, Megan Bonema, who achieved her permit technician certification, which allows her to actually issue certain types of building permits. The department continues to work with a number of local groups, those being the EDC, Chamber of Commerce, Willmar Area Development Corporation, the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, Willmar Design Center, West Central Builders Association, and Main Street Willmar. ...2010 was kind of an unusual year for the core areas that the department deals with. We looked at the federal or the national economy and saw that it was improving, but it was doing so without a whole lot of job growth. Our local economic gains were even better because locally there was a significant number of new jobs created, and this was able to reverse the recession-caused job losses. The strongest sectors of our local economy in 2010 were once again agriculture and manufacturing, which posted the largest job gains. 2010 census results are in, the basic results. They show a 7% increase for the city. Over the past 10 years, our established population, according to the census, is 19,610 individuals. Candy Ohio County showed an increase of roughly 3% to just over 42,000. If you look at Willmar and Candy Ohio County, you'll notice that things drop off very rapidly when you get west of here. We are the last bastion of population gain, population growth in southwest or west central Minnesota. And that's really solidified the city's position as a regional center. Likewise, it has strengthened the responsibility that the city has to a much larger region to provide goods, services, and jobs to the inhabitants of that large geographic area. As I mentioned, the employment rate has been decreasing for the city and the county as we grow our way out of the recession. Our local unemployment rate continues to be 2 to 3 points better than state averages. On a dimmer note, the construction valuations for the year 2010 declined to $22.5 million. That's the lowest in nearly a decade and only 50% of the 10-year average. Interestingly enough, the number of permits has remained steady, reflecting a large increase in permits for property maintenance. So people are still making investments, they're just not doing it in a lot of new construction. The housing construction declined to approximately $5 million, but the commercial industrial construction valuation totaled a surprising $14.3 million last year. And staff continues to assist these projects with technical assistance in the form of code review, site planning, financial analysis, plan review, and inspections. As I mentioned, our housing construction is down, and it remains slow in 2010 with the fewest number of new units permitted in over a decade. Foreclosures continue to hinder any housing turnaround. They've artificially lowered prices and still cause our local lenders to be more cautious in approving credit. Interest rates are great if you've got the credit right now to take advantage of it, but the foreclosures are keeping a lot of people out of that market. A side effect of the foreclosure issue are some declines in certain neighborhoods. We've been working with mortgage holders to make sure that the needed maintenance is performed on the structures that they are getting back in foreclosures. Midwest Technology Campus remains a real bright spot in the local economy. They're home now to over 20 businesses and nearly 300 employees, and it is officially a hub of biotechnology. The Planning Commission has recently given approval for a number of new businesses to locate at that site, and a lot of those businesses, or some of those businesses, have potential to grow a lot of jobs and to be very successful. Also coming in 2011 is the Mid-Central Research and Outreach Center. You'll recall that this is the joint venture between the city, Midwest Technology Campus, MinSCU, the University of Minnesota, and there will be a complete new facility developed for the U on that site. We anticipate that up to 40 professors and graduate students will occupy space in the new outreach center, and they will assist businesses in bringing intellectual property to the marketplace. Efforts to redevelop the former airport did not go very far in the year 2010. I don't want to speak a lot about that, but we do know that hundreds of acres of land continue to be held hostage by the land release process, and we hope to make some progress on that in the near future. We will be submitting a grant reimbursement request to HUD for a 2006 grant that the city received for right around $100,000. And those activities funded by the grant were engineering and design work, some infrastructure improvements, and extension of telecommunications. In 2010, staff spent more time than usual in the neighborhoods working with property owners due to maintenance issues. Most of it had to do with exterior storage and maintenance violations, and a greater emphasis has been placed on education versus punishment. We've taken a little bit different approach and tried to work more with people. We've had a little more time to give people to help work them through the process rather than moving straight to citations. And working with the PD, we've updated the handbook, so to speak, of citizen expectations, and now have that distributed in multiple languages. Cleanup efforts extended into the mobile home parks. A number of homes were removed and only one new home was brought in last year. Right now we're at about 50% occupancy at the East Park and 70% lot occupancy at the West Park. Staff has joined forces with the county on hazard and nuisance abatement in the parks, and we've been getting a little bit better results from the owners. They know that the county's involved and the county holds the license for the parks. Because of the reduction of construction and economic activity last year, the department had more time to take a look at how we do things. Our focus has changed to not just building a new construction, but on what we can do to improve the environment that's already built in the city. We're more conscious of looking for innovative ways to provide the citizens the services they require and to focus on our core department functions and to implement a process of continuous process improvement. Last year there was a transfer of airport management responsibilities to department staff. This has required workload shifts for other field activities that have been picked up by the inspectors. We're thankful for relationships we have with the EDC, the county, adjacent townships, the school district, and Mid-Minnesota Development Commission. They allow us opportunities for cross-jurisdictional cooperation on development issues. The city takes serious its leadership position in this process, and we acknowledge our responsibility as the economic engine of the region. A major portion of our departmental budgeted revenue is derived from fees. This revenue continues to cover more than 75% of budgeted expenditures, despite the department operating with what we consider to be an outdated building code fee schedule. Here's a graphic portrayal of the fees collected over the past 10 years, and as you would expect, those move pretty much in order with permit valuations. The next page is a chart showing construction activity over the past 10 years. Nothing much to say about it, except it's an easy, quick reference to show what has happened both in housing construction, total number of permits, and valuations. Looking ahead to the Planning Commission report, it's important to note that the Planning Commission's report is required by the charter, and it's an annual requirement. Incorporated by reference into the Planning Commission report is the 2011 to 2015 Capital Improvements Report, which was presented to the City Council last summer. The Planning Commission is a very dedicated group of citizens. They held 18 regular meetings last year, as well as several work sessions. Major areas they worked on in 2010 included regulating electronic signs, home occupations, and then they dealt with projects at Jimmy John's, Willmar Poultry, United Farm Credit Services, and the Rice Care Center. Additionally, they dealt with two fairly complicated street vacations, the one that the council acted on 2 weeks ago for the municipal utilities and the one done for the Perkins Lumber Project last spring. Looking ahead to 2011, the Planning Commission will continue their update on the zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance, and they are about to move into their work to update the capital improvements plan. They hope to get around to doing redevelopment planning for the former airport. So far that's been just doing some preliminary lot layouts and infrastructure planning, and we hope to get into a little more detailed planning once the land release is secured. Zoning and nuisance complaints and actions or citations that staff dealt with in 2010 totaled 491. This was down from the previous year because there was no full city sweep done. This was due to the shift of staff to airport duties. The numbers that we got for 2010 are completely based on citizen complaints, and the fact we had 451 complaints resulting in 491 citations will tell you that the citizens are not bashful about contacting us to help make improvements in their neighborhoods. The most common violations were for garbage, furniture, appliances, and unlicensed vehicles. There were a total of 491 inspections required to achieve compliance with these complaints. Zoning staff also deals with graffiti abatement. When there are graffiti complaints in the city, those are addressed initially by the police department. They provide us with notice of the violations, and department staff follows up with photo records, property owner notification, and then we work to monitor the abatement of the graffiti on the properties. There were 26 graffiti notices that went out in 2010, and they required 65 inspections for compliance. Staff continues to utilize a complaint or issue tracker program to assist with keeping track of all our complaints, and this helps the process be conducted in a timely manner and gives us a very accurate archive of all activities, and it makes it very easy to go into our records and determine where we are at in terms of compliance for any individual complaint. I'll go through these next slides fairly quickly. They portray Planning Commission activities. You'll note there were no annexations for the year 2010. The Board of Zoning Appeals dealt with only 3 variances last year. That's down considerably from the years when there was more construction. Accompanying that same trend were rezoning amendments. Last year we had a few extra text amendments, more than we normally have. That's why the number was as high as it was. But typically the rezonings will cycle pretty consistently with the level of construction. The same holds true for plan reviews. You'll note those dropped off considerably. The next 2 deal with plats, and you'll see there was only 16 lots platted in 2010, and that was from 2 plats that were filed. And again, the plats are down considerably from earlier years when there was much more development occurring. Final graph I'll show under the planning report has to do with conditional use permits. Again, the conditional use permits that were addressed last year averaged about 1/2 to 2/3 of what we typically see in a normal year. Moving ahead to the building inspection report, I'd like to note that in spite of the tough economic times, the City of Willmar did see over $22 million worth of new construction. And even though that's nowhere near the construction we have seen or would like to see, it still exceeds, for communities our size, state and national construction averages. So from a construction economy standpoint, we're ahead of the nation, but I think that says more about the nation than it does about Willmar. We're still lagging behind the good times of 2006 to 2008, and we've got a lot of lost ground to make up. There were 10 permits issued last year for new commercial and industrial projects. This represents a 42% increase over 2010. There was a 43% increase in commercial industrial additions and alterations, and this represents a total of 95 permits. Last year we saw 12 new single-family homes constructed. There was 3 twin home buildings for another 6 units, and 4 4-unit apartment buildings totaled 3, and we ended up with a total number of housing units of 30 new housing units in 2010. And again, for cities our size, that's above average, but it's still not what we want to see. It's going to take a few more years before the residential construction market recovers. The city continues to enforce the 2007 edition of the Minnesota State Building Code. The state of Minnesota will soon adopt the 2012 series of international codes, and will ask the city to adopt those codes as well. Our current fee schedule dates back to 1994, and this is something that staff would recommend that the council take a look at again. We need to keep adjusting these fees periodically so that we don't have huge fee increases hit us at one time, and this is something that's been recommended in an analysis done by the League of Minnesota Cities. The chart I have up on the screen right now shows the major building permits, over $250,000 for those projects in the year 2010, and there was 14 of those projects. The next chart is a complete breakdown of permits for residential permits, commercial, industrial, mechanical, and plumbing permits. You'll note at the bottom line that the number of permits does remain steady, and so the inspections workload does remain pretty steady. Next chart is the 3-year summary of construction valuations, and it's broken down in more detail than the previous valuation chart I had in the early part of the report. And here's the total valuation dating back 10 years portrayed graphically. This chart shows permit revenue for building permits, mechanical permits, plumbing and excavation permits, and sign permits. And as you noted in the previous chart that we had, those permit revenues are down. This chart shows the total number of inspections conducted by staff over the last 3 years, and you'll note that 2010 was down from 2009, but it was higher than 2008, and again, the level of inspections remains pretty steady. This chart shows the number of units inspected graphically, and you can see that there's not near the variation in that as there is in the construction valuation. Concluding with the rental inspection section, there were 1,768 rental units inspected last year. That was up slightly from 2010. Also, the number of licenses issued to landlords was up slightly from 265 to 277. The majority of landlords continue to cooperate with the program, yet we still have a few that create obstacles for staff, and they push the limits of the program and do the very minimum they need to do to meet the intent of the ordinance. These are the landlords that typically have the worst maintained properties and are responsible for the greatest number of tenant and zoning complaints. Property owners have a good understanding of the program, and they cooperate pretty well. They know that if they keep their property properly maintained, they require fewer corrections, and this increases the value of their property, and it attracts better tenants and protects their investment. The tenants welcome city involvement because they know it keeps their housing safe and sanitary and affords them a higher standard of living. And also importantly, the city benefits by this program by having its tax base preserved and neighborhood aesthetics maintained while protecting the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. The chart I've got up here shows the number of licenses issued, and you'll note that it dropped off significantly in 2005. And this program operates on a cyclical basis. In the near future, we'll see a tremendous spike again because there will come a year when virtually every unit has to be inspected. We do them on a rotating basis depending upon the number of units in the structure. And we're just getting through the low part of the cycle, and we'll be ramping up here, if not in 2011, into 2012. The last slide, can you go back one? Or back two? Can you go back two? That one. And that's the number of units inspected under the rental program, and you'll notice that that stays pretty consistent from year to year. It's the licenses that vary significantly in that program. That being said, I'd be happy to stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Bruce? Councilman Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some comments, Bruce. I know that you were in favor of raising fees because we're using an old building permit fee schedule. And the revenue last year from fees was down to $302,000. In the private sector, if our revenue goes down, we aren't fortunate enough to raise our fees or our prices. We have to keep them, probably lay off people sometimes. That's how we function. I also noticed that you said in your report that 75% of the department was funded with the revenue from fees. If I divided that number by 75%, it comes up to $402,000 to operate that department for the year 2010. In 2003, 4, 5, 6, and 8, we were way above that number. I suspect that the cost to operate the department back in those years was even less than that. So if you average them out, we're still ahead on fees collected and dollars to run your department. That was it. Thank you. Councilmember Christensen, I would agree with your analysis 100%. What
these charts don't show is if we do cost accounting of providing inspection and development services and involve the cost of the other departments that are involved in providing those services. That's in the years where we've had higher revenues, that's where some of those monies have gone. But as far as fees goes, that's always a decision of the council. It's a policy decision that the council sets, and staff willingly abides by those policy decisions.
Thank you for your report.
Any other questions? Councilman Reese?
Bruce, thanks for your report. Along that same line, on the fees, in the fact that we're using 1994?
That's correct.
1994 fees. Can you give me some feel for the difference between what staff's recommendation would be and the 94 fees? Because I guess what I'm getting at is if we all of a sudden do decide to change the fees, how much of a shock is it going to be to the construction industry? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes. It's a good question. Staff had prepared an analysis and provided it to the mayor last year because we wanted that considered in the course of the budget analysis. The mayor determined at that time, and I think subsequently the full decision of the council, to not adjust fees. It's something that would probably come back on the table depending upon what happens with LGA. It's an option for the council to consider. With regard to the specifics of your question, Councilman Reese, if we increased our fees by 10% and or even 7% and could do that 7% this year, skip a year another 7% and slowly bring it up, I think that's something to consider. I would not want to see fees become a bigger negative to the construction industry than it's already perceived to be. The argument has been advanced by certain council people over the years that the entire city benefits by new construction, and that is absolutely true. It's reflected in your being able to keep your tax rates down. And so I think that by having a portion of inspections and development activities funded by ad valorem taxes under the general fund is completely defensible. And again, it will boil down to a policy decision on the part of the council.
Can you give me any feel of other cities in Minnesota, how we compare as far as our utilizing the 94 rates?
With like-sized cities, we would be at the very low end. That in and of itself is not a good reason to adjust fees. I think the council needs to look at the fees in a broader context and decide what works best for the city of Willmar.
Oh, sure, but I just wanted to know where we were in comparison.
We're low, and the building code no longer even offers a preference or a preferred table for fees. They want cities to analyze it and basically come up with their own fee schedule. You can adjust it for population or whatever. Things do change annually because the state of Minnesota provides us with valuation guidelines to use for new construction. So even if fees stay the same, the total fee that you might pay on a project would vary from year to year, just because the state would say that the square foot construction cost is varying, and our fee schedule is applied to the value of the project.
I just don't want to get to a point where it's an insurmountable amount, and then we have a hearing and we've got a room full of contractors mad because we're going to raise it to a point that it's just ridiculous, and I don't want to get to that point.
I would not advocate that.
And being that we're utilizing 94 rates and we're in 2011, that's a lot of years difference. So I was just trying to get a feel for it.
Okay. As the city moves forward with its 2011 or 2012 budget and decides if and when they need to deal with any LGA issues, staff can again provide an analysis of fees and make some recommendations to the council regarding schedules.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that same line, the fees collected or charged to build a new home in Willmar is based on value.
Yep.
Now, the value of a $200,000 home in 1994 today would be $400,000. So the fees have increased. It's based on value, so you can increase it so many dollars, so much more percentage of the house. Presently, I believe it's 1 to 1.5%. That's what I've figured out, at least from the fees that I've paid. So the fees and the amount collected have increased. The house in 1994 is twice as much today. So the percentage you pay there on value is quite a bit more today than it was in 1994. So we have increased the fees. They do every year. As houses cost more to build, the fees go up. The average fee today, I believe, for an average home, say 1,500 square foot house with a full basement, double garage, it's over $2,000. And I just say that because I want to make sure that when the homeowner's paying that, they know that they're getting something for that $2,000. And presently, that feeling isn't there. It just isn't. So when we talk about raising fees, you need to think about the dollars we're collecting versus 1994. It's quite a bit more. Quite a bit more.
Councilman Ahman.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce, for your report. My question was on the rental housing or the complaints issue, and I'm glad to see that the city has changed through the years, and you've got a complaints department, so we know what's being done. Have we had a lot of complaints from tenants on the rental inspections department? Have we had a lot of violations? There are people calling in to complain about their rental property?
We do get a number of calls from tenants saying that there are problems with the units they're renting. The first thing we try to do is to determine if it's a problem caused by the tenant or not.
Right.
And we don't run off to the landlord until we've been able to verify that there is, in fact, an issue that the landlord is responsible for. Staff has on more than one occasion told the tenant to buck up and fix it themselves because it's obvious that they're the cause. That doesn't always sit very well, but you know, sometimes it's like parenting, and you find yourself playing that role in the community. If it's something that is a life safety issue, we'll definitely work through the property owner to get it done. If it's cosmetic and it's caused by the tenant, we may just let it ride out till the next inspection cycle.
Is there any way we can, maybe go through community development, it would be good to see what the annual complaints are based on rental and what type of complaints we're having. If that means we're going to have to change anything in the existing ordinance, or if we should, or just how many complaints we're getting. The other question, question or comment is on, when you look at this report, and you look at the responsibilities of your of your department, there are a lot of players involved, and I just want to, I didn't get the chance or the opportunity to go around to every one of the different boards and commissions you have here and say thank you, but publicly I'd just like to say the people on the variance board, the planning board, do a lot of work, and without them, we'd be dead in the water. They're a very vital, important part of this community and what's going to set precedents in the future, and I just want to say thank you to those people that serve on there, and I hope they're appreciated, and I hope people understand if they are on that commission that they say thank you to them, because it's a thankless job and they don't get paid for it. But there's a lot of good people on the board. Other than your report, I guess that's the only other thing is if we can get a breakdown maybe, Bruce, next year of what kind of complaints we might have, to what severity we have, regardless of what it might be.
To make sure we're on the same page, why don't you come in and see me sometime, and we'll put down a plan of action for the next report.
Yeah, we can, or bring it up through committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with Steve's remarks about, Councilmember Ahman's remarks about the citizen boards, he speaks from experience. He's a recovering member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And that was my first exposure to Councilmember Ahman 20-plus years ago. So,
Councilman Dock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for your report, Bruce. One of your responses to Councilmember Christensen, I think, was that we need to look, I'm sure you're saying, at fees in a broader context. What does that mean?
we need to see exactly where building permit fees fit into the bigger picture of municipal revenue and to determine if that's a legitimate area to look at providing a greater share of the revenue pie, so to speak. Again, all the revenue options are on the table every year for budgets, and we don't always have a lot of control over the revenue side of things. And I'm just asking that it be given some consideration in the budget process. If the council is satisfied with the level of fees generated right now as a policy matter, that's fine, and then the revenues will come from another source.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Bruce, for a great report.
Thank you.
Not all good news, but it was a great report. Thank you again. With that, we'll move to item number 10. Consider approval of plans and specifications and authorize ad for bids for decommissioning of the Arby's and Ortonblad lift station. And I'm sorry I started to call you up before, but you could give Bruce's report.
No, I can't. He does a very good job, and I'm glad he does it for you. With that, the Ortonblad and Arby's, I have the specifications and plans here if you want to look at them. I thought I'd quickly brief you again, which we have before on this. And let's see if I can off the button. Basically, we'll go over the sewer reroutes, review what's in the Ortonblad and Arby's projects, review the project budget, and next steps. I wish I had the clicker.
You do.
Why isn't it working? Which one do I push?
Trigger in the bottom.
Now you're going to go back. Well, no. This just shows the cover of the plan and specs. This is the Ortonblad lift station. Again, at the Ortonblad lift station, we will be removing, first of all, your city staff will be salvaging out the dehumidifiers, the controllers, heaters and floaters. The contractor will remove the chain link fence, gate, and valves. There's 6 of them, which will be delivered to the city. This is just another picture of it. Come on. The pipe will then be, once we get the sewer pipe up, we can do the decommissioning of the lift station. The Arby's lift station, again, the salvage there is the control panel, antennas, floats, submersible transducers and pumps, and 6 valves will be done by the contractor, which will be turned over to the city. The project budget, engineering, $67,000, $38,000 has been budgeted for construction. We now have the construction budget down to $376,675, subtotal of $482. There is 2 parcels of land that have been purchased, and it is less than that, but I didn't update that part of the budget. Put a 5% on contingency of construction, bringing the project to $521,547. Just thought I'd bring to your attention on that was we actually did a change order to the Clean Water Revolving Fund loan, calling this Phase 2 of the decommissioning. That change order included $611,140. So in the budgeting process, we have more than enough funds for this through PFA. So tonight, what we're bringing forward to you is the plans and specs to be authorized, giving the city staff the authorization to go out for bids and advertise this. We'd like to open bids on May 3rd. We'll bring it to council for approval on May 16th. This is a fast construction because substantially complete by July 31st and final by August 31st. With that, I'd like to ask for your approval of the plans and specs and authorize for project 1109 the authorization of publication for the
Before you leave, are there any questions from the council? Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the Ortonblad one is in my neighborhood, I'm
Right.
just, the decommissioning of it, you were going to take all the guts out of it, bury it. I mean, you put rock in there or something, or what?
Yes.
Something.
They'll put a gravel base. In the pipe, they'll actually plug it and put in some flowable fill a grout so that the pipes that went to and from the force main are plugged so nothing can get in there. And they'll go down 3 feet and then they'll fill it up and it'll be then dirt and resodding it
So
and
the tar and the fencing and all that will come out of there completely?
100% removal.
And then does that piece of property go back to the owner that we took it away from?
Yes.
Okay. Then the construction begins, they're going to dig and connect. Is anything going to be connected?
Well, they'll actually do the pipe work first because we can't decommission the lift station without having the gravity pipe for it to connect to.
I understand. Okay. So the construction actually will begin first.
Yep.
And they'll go in the road, correct?
There'll be 400 feet of road ripped up and paved at the end of the project.
And do we know how deep that's going to be starting there and going down, since the main line out there is,
Off the top of my
30-some
head,
feet deep?
Councilmember Christensen, I think it's about 15 at the, but I can look it up quick since I have the plans right here. Let's just get to the pipe.
My neighbors are asking.
Good question. I think I should get these by heart. Let's see. Street elevation to the end.
We can get this afterwards, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's about 20 feet.
you don't-
It's the maximum depth.
At that particular point?
No, at the
No.
street, it's shallower. It's only 8 or 9 feet deep.
Okay, because they were wondering how wide it was going to be opened up there.
No, that one is, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Ahmed?
Yeah, thank you, Rhonda, again, for your work. You know, this is going to be a lot easier than the last projects of designing and building everything. Now you're just tearing things apart. When you say removal and salvage, what is going to be salvaged out of the pumps? Are we holding on to that, and what else?
Yes, the pumps, the dehumidifiers that are in the building, there's control panels for the electrical stuff, the heaters and the floats. There's 6 valves that will be removed and salvaged. That's out of the Ortonblad. There are 3 valves at the Arby's that will be salvaged by the contractor. All the rest of this, the city staff is going to go in and remove. And in fact, they're already working on the Arby's because that sewer is already connected. So the Arby's lift station's just been sitting there since last fall, not pumping at all. So they've been removing the control panels, the antennas, the floats, the submersible, transducers, and the pumps.
Okay, so we are going to retain all those items.
That is correct.
Okay, just want to make sure of that. Just out of curiosity, as far as designing or dismantling, this is a lot simpler process, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And what are your fees that you're charging us for your engineering fees? I don't recall what they were because I wasn't on the council when the contract was signed for the waste treatment plant. I'm just curious, what are your fees and how are they based?
I can get you our fee schedule. If
Okay, was it 5%, 10% of the project cost, or?
we actually
approximately?
base it on an hourly rate, and not to go over that, we actually look at the hours that it'll take to produce the plans and try to come in as close as we can to that.
Okay, so your fees should be less on of course will be less on a project that's less money, but when there's not a lot of engineering to do, like on decommissioning, is there a different rate structure for that? Since it's a lot simpler and it doesn't take as much time, we're dealing with existing
Yeah,
line.
it doesn't take as much time, it's less work to do, yes.
So you think they're fair proportionately, either way? Okay,
I
there's no dual rate or fee that you charge for decommissioning versus your engineering fees are always the same?
But we have to always look at what the codes are, though, on how these things get removed and stuff. So there still is the code compliance on different structures for what we're doing here. and making sure we're doing the regulations on it, and looking at the structures. Again, as we mentioned, the Ortonblatt is only going to be remove the top 3 feet. The Arby's is going to be down 10 feet, that they're going to remove the structure. So how those soils then get compacted and held up, what's the soil types in there? You do the investigation of that. Is there a water table that we have to be worried about?
Sure.
So there is still some engineering to be done.
Thank you.
Councilman Dockett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for coming tonight. Under the removal and salvage of components, we're going to keep, what, 2 pumps? And we can use those somewhere in our system?
Yes, I know your maintenance staff has told me that when I was here going through the western collector, and I said that there was one of your lift stations on the north end of town that needed a new pump, they're salvaging it and moving it up there.
Okay. And then what is then salvaged? Do we sell that, and does that reduce our cost, or...
Oh, that's a good question. I think your maintenance crews actually cleans up most of the parts, and they keep it as spares for future use.
We would reuse it. We wouldn't
Everything is
sell.
reusable?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you.
Other questions for Rhonda?
I'll move to approve staff's recommendation.
Second. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the final plans and specifications for Project 1109 and to authorize the publication of the advertisement for bids. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Amon.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution passes. From there, we move into item number 11, the consideration of liquor license renewals. And Kevin, would you address that for us, please?
Mayor Yanish, members of the council, you have before you a list of establishments that are requesting renewal of their liquor licenses. It's a familiar list, with the exception, if you were crossing off from last time to now, is the omission of Pizza Hut, who has chosen not to continue serving any alcoholic beverages. It is staff's recommendation that you, by roll call vote, move to approve all of these liquor license renewals in their respective categories.
Move to approve.
Second.
A move has been made and seconded to approve all the licenses that we have here in front of us. A roll call.
Question.
Any discussion?
On American Legion and the VFW, has that been resolved as far as the license fees and that completely now?
Sure. This is their, maybe they've been at 18 months of being in a complete on sale, and we only have 2 clubs in the city.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
Councilmember Amon.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution passes. Item number 12, the Finance Committee report. Councilman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item on our agenda was a public forum, and we didn't have anyone there to address us. Second item was a growthless land issue. We'd been talking about this for a while, and our previous discussions regarding Mr. Grotha's request for right of first refusal of city-owned land located at the end of the runway of the new airport. And that property is not for sale, so Mr. Grotha then requested a right of first refusal for renting that particular parcel of land. We'd previously discussed this. There was no motion made to offer Mr. Grotha a right of first refusal for renting the land, so this matter was for information only. The next item was the Firefighters Relief Association report. Finance Director Okins explained that the Willmar Fire Relief Association is required to certify the calculated retirement benefits for all members by August 1st of each year. Last year, the 2010 worksheet reflected a liability to the city in the amount of $40,768. Due to some subsequent recalculation by the State Auditor's Office, This liability has been reduced to $24,000. That roughly $16,000 difference will just remain there for the time being. That was for information only. Next item, we looked at the February Rice Trust Report. That was also for information. And finally, Finance Director Okins explained that in response to a council member's questions on the format of the accounts payable list that's provided in our packets, two possible options were being presented. There was a list provided that reflected the vendor and total each week. Another example includes a brief description of each invoice paid, which would result in a substantially longer list. The summary we get lists of vendor and the total amount paid to that vendor. If we wanted it more detailed, we would have that vendor might have 8 or 10, and in one example there's 12 items under the one vendor, so the report would be substantially longer. We're going to look at this as a future agenda item, and we took that for information only. So unless there's questions, I would move to file these minutes.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to file the minutes of the Finance Committee. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. The Community Development Committee minutes by Chairman Dokken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Community Development Committee met on March 31st. The others present were our Mayor, Mary Anish, Randy Cardell, the building official, and Marv Calvin, the fire chief. We discussed 6 items. There were no public comments. The second item, commercial property maintenance, for information only. Of the 6 items, this one took almost an hour of discussion. Chair Dokken opened the discussion by reminding the committee that this matter had been suggested for review by a person at a previous committee meeting. Staff reviewed a process for discussing the issue. Building official Randy Cardell and Fire Chief Mark Kelvin talked about existing conditions in commercial structures. Their comments related primarily to interior conditions and were directed at life safety hazards. It was noted that the fire code does not cover interior or exterior cosmetic issues. The committee discussed the building maintenance relative to safety and cosmetics. It was agreed that there were 2 separate issues. Building official Cardell presented the International Property Maintenance Code as one example of how both interior and exterior issues can be addressed. Councilmember Christensen expressed concern about enforcement of such a comprehensive document. He said he thought the necessary standards were already in place. The committee was of the opinion that building and business owners need to be involved in the process to determine what main issues need to be addressed. Past philosophy and policy relating to fire code inspections was offered by staff. The committee discussed changing policy to enable systematic fire code inspections to be conducted. It was determined that the fire chief and building official should come back to the committee at a later date with proposals to initiate commercial property inspections relative to both the fire code and a new exterior maintenance ordinance. Staff will prepare a simple exterior maintenance ordinance for commercial buildings and make it available at that time. An anticipated date for this matter to come back to the committee is June of 2011. Item 3, Willmar Fabrication Job Z request, and this is a resolution. Staff presented a request by Willmar Fabrication for Job Z benefits at the new location they will occupy following the sale of the majority of their business to a Canadian manufacturer. The 2 sites that are being considered for inclusion in Job Z program are the Burnix building on 19th Avenue and a 20,000 square foot building on Trott Avenue across from the West Central Tribune. Staff informed the committee that the county and school district had approved the Job Z application and that the city was the final taxing jurisdiction required to do so. Following Monday's meeting and the anticipated amendment to the Job Z subzone, if council approves the application of Willmar Fabrication, the information will be provided to the state of Minnesota, who will make the final decision regarding Job Z qualifications. Due to the fact that the Trott Avenue site was occupied by the business prior to the Job Z approval, the state has indicated they would not approve Job Z for that location. The EDC has advocated for both sites. A resolution was made by council member and seconded, and I will recommend that we approve this resolution for a Job Z business subsidy for Willmar Fabrication at their new location.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the Job Z business subsidy for Willmar Fabrication at their new locations. And this is a roll call?
We have.
I'm sorry, open for discussion.
Yep. Okay.
We just do this.
Bruce?
Mayor Yanish, members of the council, Jean Spalding from the Economic Development Commission is here tonight, and she's prepared to answer any questions you might have about the Job Z program for Willmar Fabrication. She has been the principal go-between with the company and the state of Minnesota on this project.
Are there any questions for Ms. Spalding? With that, we'll do the roll call. If there's no further discussion.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Dockin?
Aye.
Baggerly?
Aye.
Reese?
Aye.
Christensen?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
Hammond?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 4, mobile home park update. This was for information only. Building official Randy Cardell explained what has been done to enforce codes in the mobile home parks. He has been working with the county staff to issue citations to remove homes and improve conditions. It is estimated that 50% of the sites are occupied in the East Park and approximately 70% of the sites are occupied in the West Park. Item 5, for information only, ordinance to change penalties for exterior storage and maintenance violations. Staff presented a draft ordinance by City Attorney Ronning, which changes the penalties for first-time exterior storage and maintenance ordinance violations from a misdemeanor to a petty misdemeanor. This has come about in an attempt to speed up the process that violations are moving through the court system. There was a motion made and seconded, and I will introduce the ordinance for a public hearing on April 18th, 2011 in the council chambers.
Second. A motion has been made and seconded to introduce the ordinance for a public hearing at the April 18th, 2011 council meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Item 6, miscellany for information only. The committee discussed the status of John Supper Club building. The owner is not getting the work done as specified in the agreement with the city. Staff expressed doubts that the July 2011 deadline will be met. Staff also informed the committee that they had found 5 homes that were occupied without having municipal water service available to them. Contact with the tenants and the property owners resulted in water service being restored to all 5 of the dwellings. No orders to vacate were needed. And unless there are questions, I would move to file these minutes.
Second. A motion has been made and seconded to file the minutes of the Community Development Committee meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. With that, we'll go to item number 14, consider dates for work session, Charter Commission, with the Charter Commission. Kevin, could you just...
Mayor Yanish, members of the council, you may recall that about a month ago, the Charter Commission remitted to you the final draft of their first 2 years of work on the Charter Commission. That was made available to you both electronically and physical form if that need be. At this point, we need to take steps to ratify their actions or work toward that. The options are either to direct the city attorney to put that in ordinance form, if you're completely happy with it all, or if not, call a work session and finalize some of those details. And if the latter is the option, it's staff's recommendation that you submit us 2 times and dates that would work for the majority of the council, and we will coordinate that with the chair of the Charter Commission and meet in a work session some evening at 4:45 at city offices. So that would be the recommendation of staff.
I do have a question, Kevin, is this the last of the meetings with the Charter Commission, or the work sessions with the Charter Commission, or can there be more? Or
I believe the Charter Commission feels that they are a standing committee, and they will constantly review things as they feel necessary. After 2 years of work, this is the first draft that they'd like you to consider. There's always been some conversations about making it, making the verbiage a little easier for average citizens to read, but I'm not certain that's a high priority right now. They have concluded their work on these items that have been presented in that legislative form of crossing out the old language and installing the new language. So there will be more work, but the vast majority of it is now completed.
I would like to ask the council what they would like to do. Councilman Ahmed?
Well, I think the last session we had was pretty fruitful, and it led into some good discussion, and I think it explained their rationale for changing some of the divisions. I think that would probably be in order. I would prefer that to be in order if the rest of the council would to sit down and discuss with them the changes and their need for the changes, just so we better understand it rather than read it and assume that our opinion is correct rather than discussing it with them, because they've spent a lot of time with it. So I'm open any time to meet.
Councilman Anderson?
Thank you. I would concur. I've gone through it. I don't think I have any serious objections, but I think it would be good that we have one final time to meet with the Charter Commission and clarify any questions.
And that being said, did you just say that we'd like a couple of dates?
We'd like a couple. Maybe we should just hold off on this until we finish the announcement of all the council meeting dates and see if there's any openings next week, and follow it right with that. Unless they...
That being said, shall we move to the next item? Which would be the announcement of the council meeting committee meeting dates. Councilman Anderson?
Finance Committee will meet Monday, the 11th at 4:45.
Councilman Reese?
We might have an opening. I did not talk to Public Works Director, but both chiefs said they don't have anything. Do you know, Mick, if...
Well, I believe you should schedule one. We skipped the last week,
Yes, we
so
did.
I'm thinking that there'll likely be some issues that need to be dealt with.
Okay.
Well, let's put it on for the 12th, and then if we have to cancel, we'll let you know.
All right, we will, then it'd be Tuesday the 12th.
4:45. Councilman Dockett?
Community Development will meet 4:45 on Thursday, the 14th of April, conference room number 1.
You have the work session with Springstead on Wednesday, the 13th.
Yes, we do. And that's at,
The city office building.
Labor Relations, 4:45 on the 20th,
4:45 on the 20th.
maybe Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. And we move into the miscellany. Councilman Christensen, you had something that you wanted to report on?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder to the citizens of Willmar that the City Council will be holding their annual border review on April 18th. I believe it starts at 1 o'clock, is that correct?
It would be 12 noon,
12 noon, Ken.
11 o'clock for lunch and conversations and the swearing-in ceremonies.
Okay.
So,
But the public starts to come
high noon.
at high noon, 12 o'clock. So if you, the public, think that you're, on your property taxes at your home or your commercial building, whatever, is valued too high, this is not about property taxes, it's strictly valuation. You can call City Hall at 235-8311 and arrange a time to come in and discuss your concerns. That's it.
Thank you.
Anish, if I may just follow up with that, please call Krista if any council hasn't, and make your reservations that you'll attend for the meal rather than come right at noon. So 11 o'clock is the meal.
Thank you, Ron, for that, for those comments. I have a few announcements I'd like to make, and one of them is that we need suggestions and recommendations for several committee openings, so please be aware of that. If you have people that you think may be eligible or want to serve on one of these committees, please get the recommendations or the suggestions to myself or to Audrey or to Mick. There will be an airport commission meeting at 5 p.m. on April 20th at the airport. I will be attending, and I would hope that most members of the council would be there as well, and even the city staff, if they can make it. We'd love to have any of the city staff there. I just want to show support for the airport, that it is part of our city, and we want it to grow and thrive. So please be there if you can. Again, that's at 5 p.m. on April 20th at the airport. Also, just a reminder to set Friday, April 29th aside for the council and city department heads meetings, work session at the Midwest Technology. The agenda and the directions to the exact location will be forthcoming. Any other questions or Councilman
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I need to be excused from the April 18th meeting.
Okay. Councilman Anderson to be excused from the April 18th meeting.
Can you then clarify Board of Equalization for
I've
me?
already talked to them. I will not be there.
And you will not be there. Okay. Well, that didn't give us a lot of time for the work sessions, Mr. Mayor. What a busy month. We need a couple of dates to squeeze something in there.
I need to clarify, the labor is on the 20th.
Yes.
That's a council week. I already scheduled something, because I always go opposite weeks. I'm going to be out of town, so Councilmember Dawkins going to have to take my place on that.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure that I heard it right.
Okay. Thanks, Doug.
Can we submit some dates to Kevin?
April 19th, right after the council. Is that open?
April 19th, which is it?
Tuesday, April 19th.
That works for me.
There's a city-county school board intergovernmental cooperation meeting that day at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm going to be gone that day. But
I heard somebody
wanted to meet at
suggest a
4:45. I could
Saturday.
certainly submit any comments or questions I had in writing to Kevin, so that shouldn't be an issue.
I don't think we can. That's what I think Mick's saying. That's going to go
That
2 hours.
that county-city thing could be done in half an hour if it had to be. Or perhaps it could start earlier.
About the following week, Kevin?
Well, then we turn right around. If that Monday, the 18th, is the council meeting, so starting the 25th, we might have 4 more meetings again. If laborers will labor.
27th? It's a Wednesday. There won't be a labor meeting because we're going to have met the week before that.
Should work.
27th,
Works for me.
work session at the fire hall?
The way it looks, that looks like the date we'll have to get the Charter Commission to come together. Hopefully they're in town. We don't have a lot of options for this month. So we'll set that up. We'll talk to the chairman tomorrow and get everybody emailed and make sure that's a confirmed
That's
date.
for information only.
At this point, we'll have to make sure the Charter Commission has got enough members there.
Okay. That being said, any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Council adjourned.